CEO and co-founder. It's Wednesday, a little drizzly, but you know what it means. Bright and sunny information from Mott and Chace. We've got Robert Rutley. Mr. Rutley, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for letting me be here, Josh.
Robert, the game of real estate, the business of real estate, and the leisure of real estate have all combined to create maybe as interesting a period of time as the industry has ever had. Talk about some of the numbers you're seeing, which are more remarkable than the last batch of remarkable numbers.
Well, real estate's always interesting. There's always an ebb and flow. It's always exciting. This is not a 9-to-5 desk job where you know what to expect every single day when you go in. So this year, compared to last year, this year, in the past 30 days, we had about 690 sales statewide of single-family homes. Last year at this time, we had well over 1,000. So right now, we're looking at a 32% decrease in sales statewide for single-family homes year over year. And that's important because there are fewer sales because there are fewer listings. But I doubt that the amount of buyers has really changed. So we're seeing huge growth in prices because of supply and demand in key neighborhoods like the East Side, for sure, but just statewide.
And talk about those numbers. We're seeing sort of remarkable increases in the median price of a single-family home, even beyond the numbers that we're used to. We've gotten up to that 425, 430 for the median price of a single-family home. What are you seeing in the data for the last 30 days?
Last 30 days tells me that the average price for a single-family home in Rhode Island is about $445,000. That's the median price.
Median price of single-family home, $445,000.
And I would expect that to go up by the end of the year. By next spring, I think we're looking at 5 to 525.
Incredible. You've got buyers that are. I've made the argument, I think, with you and with others, that there's so much pent-up demand because of COVID, right? So if you got married in 2018 and you had your first child, maybe you've had child number 2, maybe even child number 3 by now, you need a bigger house. And there's just not a lot of houses.
Right. It's not even people that who need to move up. I've run into a couple young families, young couples that are living with parents right now because they haven't been able to purchase something. There are a lot of motivations for a lot of people out there. It's not always, a second home in South County. Sometimes it's people who just want their first primary home. And that gets super difficult when there's a little bit of stagnation in the market when it comes to people listing properties. And they're not listing properties because where are they going to go and buy something when the market is this tight?
And Robert, median single-family house, house 465 statewide. What are you seeing in neighborhoods like the East Side of Providence?
Well, the average price point for not the average, the median on the East Side in the last 30 days was about $795,000, well above the $650,000, $625,000 that we've seen recently.
Listen, it was about, I'm going to say 6-7 years ago that you really just didn't see houses even on the East Side of Providence, unless they were on very special streets that were over $500,000.
Right. Yeah, I think at the beginning of COVID, things shifted dramatically on the East Side of Providence, where there's no longer an entry level in housing. Your entry level, between 300 and 500, which has been where our beginning or average price point for most of the state, that's gone. It has all moved into higher and higher end properties.
Robert, is there any ray of sunshine, any clearing of the proverbial skies for those who are looking to purchase a home, maybe outside of Providence, outside of sort of the hot spots? Is Coventry showing any relief?
Well, over the past few years, Coventry hasn't grown as much in value as a lot of other places. But generally people want to be near cities or the water. So those are the places that have really grown. There are still fantastic neighborhoods in Cranston, in Warwick, and while Woonsocket is a little farther away from Providence in a lot of places, there are some great neighborhoods in Woonsocket. It's easy to get to 95. If you work in Boston, it's a fantastic place too. So I think that we're seeing a lot of growth in a lot of neighborhoods that a few years ago people may have scoffed at.
Yeah, listen, I lived in the north end of Woonsocket for 20 years, as nice a home as there is, and it was a great neighborhood to raise kids, beautiful street, tree-lined streets, and great neighbors. So it was a great area for a fraction of the price. But as you say, even that's starting to pick up a little bit.
Yeah.
Robert, talk a little bit about interest rates. We're understanding, based on the proverbial signals that Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, has identified, that we may have 2 consecutive quarter-point increases in the next 2 months. What's the impact of that? Is that going to, again, further adversely impact supply of homes because people are going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to ride this out more? And obviously, it's not going to have much effect on the already overwhelming number of buyers out there.
I think we're at the point in interest rates where people still need to purchase homes, whether or not the interest rate is high or not. I mean, it's the whole proverbial, you can boil a frog slowly and they don't notice. I don't think there's interest rates haven't moved in the past week, but people base their careers off trying to figure out what the Fed is going to do, and reading into what Jerome Powell thinks he's going to do, or the Fed might raise rates or lower rates. I don't think we're lowering rates at any point, because if you take out the food and fuel prices, our inflation is still in the 5s,
Yeah.
and the Fed really wants to back down to the 2s.
Robert, answer me this. What can somebody get a 30-year fixed for? And then by applying some points, how much relief can they realistically get to be able to kind of drive a mortgage into a more affordable structure?
Right now I think the average is high 6s, or young 7s. So between 675 and 725, depending on your credit worthiness and who you're working with. I think you can buy down, and there are some mortgage lenders out there, and you have put somebody in touch with me, and I can connect you, that are working really hard with creating some novel, unique ways to make mortgages more affordable, and that is by either buying down points or working with specific lenders that are going to find a way to make the process cheaper.
Last question, it's kind of a different point of view. Reading some of the national stuff of what the future holds relative to climate change, are we seeing any impacts of climate change and worries about climate change changing the coastal real estate market in Rhode Island? In Louisiana, as an example, it's almost impossible to get flood insurance. Other states are starting to run up against that. Is any of that having an impact here in Rhode Island?
I've noticed over the past 6 months to a year that buyers that are purchasing closer to water, or people who do want that water view, are still really looking heavily at flood insurance, and if it's necessary. I think people are much more acutely aware that climate change is happening. I don't know if you've flown recently, that there's a lot of delays. A lot of that is weather-based.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of things are connected to that. A lot of things and people are paying attention to the climate change that is happening. I mean, I think it's rained for 120 days 120 days straight here in Providence. So that's my non-scientific opinion. Something's going on. But people are paying attention. People are asking questions. Where I think a few years ago, it was, I'll live on Matunic Beach. It's fine.
Yeah. Last word to you. What's the advice you're giving to folks who are really in the market, really need to purchase a home, whether they're moving into state, whether they're having a family change, whatever it might be? What's that advice you're giving to folks who really, really want to buy a property here?
My advice for any buyer is to make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure you know that you are actually what you actually want to purchase, and make sure you're comfortable with that purchase. Know exactly what you want, and when you do establish that, like hit hard and hit fast.
Robert Rutley from Mott and Chace, Sotheby's International. As always, greatly appreciate you taking the time. Listen, at 12 o'clock, we're going to have Jennifer Lawless. She's the chair of the Political Science Department at the University of Virginia. She'll be on to talk about all the interesting twists and changes going on at the national political level. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back at 12 noon with Jennifer Lawless, professor at the University of Virginia. Everybody stay safe. Enjoy this clearing weather. It's supposed to be great tomorrow, and next week is supposed to be, what do they call it, Chamber of Commerce weather for the 4th of July week. Everybody enjoy. Thanks, everybody.